Oh, I'm here this morning with Maggie Arnold, who I've known for a couple years, but not well. I know her because she's the coach at Creston, head girls wrestling coach at Creston, and then the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union. She's on the advisory committee. And actually, we just discussed. I had forgotten that she also is a Dana College alumni. So, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
I think I'll start with the advisory committee because you came on uh, early because you were replacing somebody that had to step down because they were no longer going to be coaching. But now you're in your first full term of that 4 year adventure, I'll say. So, how has your experience been so far at the Girls Union?
I love being on that advisory committee, and I really love being on it for girls wrestling because the sport is so new. So it feels like I'm not for sure how it works with the other sports, but being such a new sport, all of the topics that we bring up and everything, there's just a different buzz that surrounds the sport of girls wrestling in the state of Iowa. There's also, with its growth, there's a ton of decisions that have to be made. And I always come away from there feeling like the conversation that we have around that table is very meaningful, and my day has been used to make a difference, I guess.
Yeah, it is fun to be involved with that. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating, but we there's a lot of good things that have happened there. Uh, the girls' union, I think, in what they've done in the last 4 years is throughout the United States. I think people are envious of the state of Iowa and what we have. Big thing coming up this next year, state duels. Uh, I know we talked about it for a few years. I wasn't in this meeting, but how did that go? And are you pretty excited about what's going to happen there?
I'm really excited. This first year will kind of show us if we set the appropriate parameters as far as number of teams and how regional duels are going to be set up and things like that. So I guess with this first year, the girls' union did a really nice job. Like they were asking us questions. We have coaches on that committee that are 1A and 2A coaches. I'm kind of in a unique situation where at Creston, some years we could be 2A, some years we could be 1A. So we'll see how we float back and forth. But there's a really great variety of people who can kind of give that expert advice. We have people on the committee that have been involved on the boys' side too. So they kind of see how state duels works for them and maybe what if they had the opportunity to start over new like the girls do, what they would do differently as well. So I'm really excited about state duels. I think that is a huge step in the right direction for girls wrestling. We have a ton of momentum going right now and excitement behind the sport, and that's only going to continue to grow when you kind of put in that dual team piece that hadn't been there in the championship portion of the season before.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited about it. I too am going to be sitting probably in that 1A, 2A. Got to figure out. I did the math where I think we're starting to split our co-op up. So I'm sitting last year, it would have been the 82nd team. So last year, if we would have done this, would have been a 1A team. But now, who knows? You never know what's going to happen. I think there's already been some more movement and everybody's kind of finding that spot. So excited to see where we end up. We might be
Yeah, well,
wrestling each other for it. That would be really cool.
last year was our first year in 2A, and there was a lot of anxiety kind of surrounding that, like, oh shoot, because
Uh-huh.
you see how big some of those 2A schools are.
Yeah.
I was super pleased though, and I didn't feel like we were outmatched individually, so to speak, when we went head to head with our top caliber athletes against other larger schools top of their lineup as well. We matched up really well and we belonged there. So that was a big confidence booster for our program to know that even if we do bump up to the 2A division, that we still belong and can very much compete.
Yeah, you've had some fantastic wrestlers on your team, and I know a few of them. We'll start with Grace. Grace is man, what a fun kid that is, and I'm gonna get to spend the next week with her down in Florida, so I'm really excited about that. But who else, do you got coming back next year? I kind of glanced through your lineups, and then I also kind of looked at where people finished last year. There's a lot of them close to qualifying for the state tournament. They were really in the mix there at the regional. What's it look like for next year?
For next year, I think our squad's probably going to have the highest numbers that we've had since I've started coaching, and maybe the least amount of experience. So it's kind of fun to have those kind of teams too, because there's a lot that we can develop through the season. We've already started with summer workouts, kind of getting those newcomers able to be ready to go when competition starts. But I've got a senior, I only have one senior on this year's squad, and that is Elena Galanakis, and she has always been the only member of her class that's been on the wrestling team, and so she's looking really good. She's a two-time state qualifier for us and lost in the blood rounds the last 2 years. So she's pretty hungry to get on that stand. So I'm really excited to see what she will do. And now with she had some really good girls ahead of her that were right around her weight class. And now she's going to have to emerge as the leader and kind of fill those shoes for our team this year. And I also have Eva Chestnut coming back. She won a couple tournaments for us last year, and she will be a sophomore this season. So very excited to see what those two will end up doing, as well as Cora Lohoff will also be a sophomore for us this season. And she came on really strong in the last 2 weeks of the season and kind of upset some girls that I think were really shocked at where she was at the end of the season.
I just kind of glanced at I had track wrestling up and I just glanced a little bit. Man, that's a tough loss for Atlanta. A 2-1 decision to not move forward. Man. Yeah, so she's right there. She's really close. Do you have a large group of incoming freshmen then? And then with I guess I didn't even think about this. You might have the opportunity to have eighth graders wrestling this year also. How's that looking for you?
We, as like a coaching staff so far, haven't discussed what it looks like being able to compete with eighth graders. I think we're kind of sitting still to see what that memo looks like from the state, the girls' union, to see what kind of they advise us to do in this situation. I guess too with competition dates. I don't know what certification looks like, things like that. So we're kind of waiting on the eighth grade piece. As far as freshmen are concerned, though, I only have one freshman that's come up that wrestled on our eighth grade squad last year. There's always some freshmen that decide, you know
Yep.
what? We're in high school. We're going to try something new. And so there will probably be, I'll probably pick up a few more that way as well.
Yeah. I just on that eighth grade thing because I kind of almost completely forgot about it. What's your thoughts on it? I mean, because I'm kind of torn. I see it as being there's a few kids I think that I could help my team out, but then I look at what are we going to leave with the middle school wrestler? If too many get pulled up, is middle school wrestling going to kind of be, watered down or not as important? And then if we lose middle school wrestling, I'm worried that we lose, a lot of kids start, in middle school, and that's an important piece.
hmm We're really lucky at Creston because our youth program is so strong that has been developed. And so losing junior high sports could, or, if you start moving people up and you don't have those numbers at junior high, that could really cripple some schools, I think. I'm optimistic because of our youth setup, being able to still maybe cover that and get some of those seventh graders some opportunities on the weekends, maybe through that club as well. So I am optimistic about that. In wrestling, it's so unique because you have to fill those individual weight classes. So I think maybe the sport of wrestling compared to others, you can find some spots for that you maybe can't fill some lighter weights with some girls that haven't quite matured like some of the other bodies have. And I also coach cross country, and it's going to be a huge game changer, I think, in cross country. As far as female sports are concerned, a lot of girls peak in running at those lower ages, and there's a lot of phenoms in the eighth grade that are, I think, really going to contribute to a lot of varsity lineups. So I think the competition is going to be stacked in that sport in particular. So again, we're just kind of right now, I just want to hear from other people what their decision is to do that, how they're going to run it. Do you bring everyone up and have them do some JV? Do you just select certain people? I don't know. I don't really know what that looks like. And I haven't decided yet, quite yet, what I want that to look like for my team.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody knows exactly what that looks like. I know like the surrounding states that do that,
Yeah.
they have
Yep.
some specific rules involved in that, and I don't know, maybe we should lean on them. Who knows? I guess
Yeah.
we'll see. We're a few months away, and it's kind of crazy that we're gonna probably find these decisions out like almost on the fly as we're
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, Creston, solid, very solid wrestling community. It always has been. I coached in Edison for a while, so I had to go up against the Creston team and with the boys in the Hawkeye 10, and it was never fun. But the Creston team started as Highway 34. And what went into the decision to split from the co-op and have your own?
I think that the goal of all co-ops when girls wrestling started was to eventually be able to have each school with numbers to field their own teams. We were with two other schools to begin with. So Highway 34 was East Union, Creston, and Lenox. And I believe it was 2 years that Highway 34 was together before the schools kind of split off. Um, and it was just simply there were lots more numbers coming up at other schools that we felt we were confident to be able to fill a room as far as practice partners are concerned by breaking up. So now East Union has their own room, and Creston has our own room. And actually, Lenox is now co-oping with Southwest Valley, which I think
Okay.
transportation wise, that made more sense to them.
Yeah.
When we went to two classes as well, that went into part of the decision making too. When you co-op, then it bumps you up a class that you normally wouldn't be in if you were on your own.
And with that decision, they had to hire a head women's wrestling coach,
Yes.
and you took that job. I'm going to assume, and I shouldn't assume this, but you probably didn't grow up wrestling.
I did not. My dad is a wrestling coach. He coaches the interstate girls now, but all my life he was the interstate boys assistant coach.
Okay.
So it was something that I have grown up around. So I did know the rules of wrestling, so to speak. I knew a couple of moves
Uh-huh.
when they decided to take a chance on me. And it's really funny. When I told my family that I was going to do that, it was at I think well, we'd already started the season, and the conversation got up that I was coaching wrestling at family Thanksgiving. And my cousin laughed and he said, "What, your dad is a coach and that automatically made you qualified?" And I said, "Well, I guess it did with the applicants that were there." So,
Yeah.
so then we
So
kind of ran with it.
so with that, and that's fantastic. What do you do? Just I know I spend a lot of time. Internet's great resource,
Yep.
and to learn new things because I'm very old school in my wrestling. But so how have you adapted to that role, and how have you learned?
I have surrounded myself with people that are incredibly knowledgeable. And a huge shout out to Cody Downing, who is the head coach at Creston. He was kind of the driving force at talking me into applying for the position. And he said, "I'll help you out. We'll do practice together to get started here, and I will show you, how I like it to flow and see if that's what you like." He was super patient with me and encouraged me to jump in while he was demonstrating with the girls so that I could feel exactly what it is that they were doing. So I started the Creston job at the age of 37 and began learning a new sport, which to me was amazing. It really filled my cup. I love sports, all sports. And so getting to learn something new at the age of 37 was exactly what I needed in my coaching career, for me personally. The girls, they're awesome. They've never once thought of me as somebody who didn't wrestle in high school like they do. So I also have with me at every single tournament, and is Trey Chestnut. That's my paid assistant. He is young. I think he's 22 now, maybe 21. He graduated from Creston High School and was one of my former students and was in the room all of high school. So he kind of has an idea what the culture is at Creston and what we want to throw out on the mat as far as a product that comes out of our room. He's been amazing. And then volunteering with me the last 3 seasons has been Mario Galanakis as well, who we know is an extremely decorated wrestler.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to challenge his knowledge, good luck, really. But they've been awesome. And I've learned so much from them. Sitting mat side with Mario, he's maybe one of the calmest people I've sat next to while the girls are wrestling. And he has really good insight and conversation as we're sitting there. He writes down, jots down things we need to work on the next time we get to practice as well. So I'm still learning so much about the sport. I love that. I love the managerial spot that coaching provides as well, and that's something that I don't think either one of those guys really wants to take a part in. So we all have really great roles and work together, I think, really nicely. So I appreciate all of their help.
Yeah, and that is true. The managerial portion of the coaching is something that nobody really wants to do, I don't think, but it has to be done. And those are things that nobody realizes. I think, oh, coaching, yeah, you just go teach them a few moves and just go. Man, there's so much more involved in that, and
Yeah.
schedules and transportation and when you're, yeah, it's just there's so much to do dealing with parents, dealing with administrations, and those are not the fun part of coaching. Learning a new sport at mid 30s is
Yep.
that's got to be it's got to be fun though. That is I'm that really I would love to maybe pick up something new now, but I'm really old, so I'm not going to do that. Um, you played softball in college, Dana College, both alumni there. What was your experience like up on the hill?
Oh man, it's amazing. I just think all the time there were so many great people that you met there. It really was such a tight-knit community. None of us will forget brunch on the hill on Sundays when you got to take part in that. That was such a feast. And I loved Dana College. That's actually where I think I would have to say my favorite coaches that I've ever played for were my Dana College softball coaches, and they taught me so much about team chemistry and roles that everyone has to play. And then just, of course, the sport of softball too. But there were just a lot of things I learned from. And when I think about my team and my coaching philosophy, a lot of that is centered around my time at Dana College.
Yeah, and Dana College always had good softball. That was one of the sports that softball and wrestling is about
Yep.
is about what they were known for. So yeah, I happened to be there the last couple of years when it closed and stuff. Uh, have you been back, gone to any of the alumni stuff?
I have gone back to homecoming a couple years ago. One of my teammates got inducted into the Hall of Fame there. So we all kind of went back to support her and get together. We did do a couple of reunions just with our softball team. We're mainly from the Des Moines or Omaha area. And
Yep.
so we did a little like back and forth a couple years in a row there where we either met one place or the other. Now we all have kids and we're chasing our families a lot of different directions and haven't gotten together as much as normal. But I did. They talk about the Dana difference. I don't know if they did when you were there, but
Yep.
I worked in admissions, so I gave campus tours as my job in college, and that we always talked about the Dana difference. And I think that that's something too that I've carried with me. Whenever you meet someone from Dana, of course, it's a small group of us, so you always have to make that connection and say something to someone if you see a t-shirt or anything like that. And even just yesterday, I had texted a couple of my teammates and a former coach to tell them about a triple play that my son's 10U team had. So the Dana difference is definitely still there in all those friendships and relationships that we built.
Yeah, if you worked in admissions, I went to school at the same time as Denise work.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so she was a freshman, I think, when I was a senior, but knew her pretty well. Uh, you mentioned your family. That's something else that's so important to coaching and everything is the family support. You got some kids. What's in your family?
My husband and I are both teachers at Creston High School, and that's where we met at as well. So I've been there for 16 years, and he's been there for 18 years. And we have two sons, Dash and Duke, and they will be fifth and second grade next year. So we're really proud of the family that we've started and that we've continued to raise in Creston. Both of us grew up in our hometowns that our parents grew up in and were raised there the whole time. So that was very important to us that once we started a family to raise them in a community until they've graduated for sure.
And you said the had a triple play.
Oh yeah, that was
What
exciting.
all sports are they involved in?
We're just doing everything right now. There's no specialization in the Arnold house, but we've got some, flag football for the youngest one, and we went to padded football last year for the oldest one. I'm the cross country coach, so they run some 5Ks and stuff in the summer and the fall. And then we've got wrestling in the winter, and my oldest son tried basketball last year too. His dad is a basketball player. So there is a little bit of both.
Uh-huh.
We're sharing that right now to figure out what our passion is in the winter. And then we've got baseball in the summer.
Wow, it's a lot. It's
It is a
busy,
lot.
busy time coaching on top of all that. That's a lot of stuff to do. But I like that they're not specializing, and that's something that I think more and more kids are giving up those opportunities. What's your thoughts on those types of things? I'm sure it's individualized, but as a coach, what do you think about specializing?
I think that a lot of us form our own beliefs in how it was that we were raised and the way we grew up. I was a four-sport athlete, and I think that each of those four sports contributed to a lot of how I live my life today. So I can't imagine ever giving up one of those to specialize for another. Softball was my passion, so I did play that more often than the other sports, but it never took precedence over whatever our high school sport was. And I think that's super important. Community is really, really important to me. Obviously, I've chosen a life of service to a community. So I have a passion for contributing as well and just staying active. I love physical fitness, and I think that cross training your body is super, super important. So I'm not a huge fan of specialization. It made me love it once I got to college and I was only playing one sport. I never felt any sort of burnout or anything like that. And I think that that's a lot to do with the fact that I didn't just do that when I was in high school. But every person is different. What worked for me may not work for somebody else. And I think the makeup of each school is kind of different too. I mean, I was a small school kid,
Yep.
so you just did everything to help everyone out.
You coach cross country. Did you run cross country as well?
I did not run cross country. I have a track background and had coach track, but I'm giving it up for next year. Being a head coach of three sports was just, it
A
was a
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I had done that for the last 3 years, and next year I needed to drop something. So track is getting dropped for next year. My kids are very busy in the spring, and I kind of want to play that mom role a little bit more closer with them and their activities.
Well, one of the things that I really like to get to do is I like to get to know people, outside of the sport of wrestling, and we've started to do that already. But is there a hobby, something that people would not maybe believe that you do? I found so many different little things that people like to do. Some people crochet, some people sew, some people, are really into cooking. What's your outside of sports hobby?
Well, I have a brand new hobby, and that is my sourdough making. And I have
Oh,
to give a shout out actually to my student Jose, who he's a big sourdough guy and kind of got me interested in it. And he gives me a hard time because he feeds his and does a lot more with his sourdough starter than what I do. But that's a new passion of mine. And then also another one that the girls kind of got me into this last year was they like to bedazzle or rhinestone everything. And so I've done a couple of rhinestoning projects that I think are very relaxing and that I really like. So that's how, if you see me at the championships coaching, I'll have my rhinestone studded shoes on. And yes, they're homemade because they taught me how to bedazzle those shoes.
that's awesome. We do uh kind of on that same thing, that keeping your mind off of the sport. We started a couple years ago coloring all the
Oh, I
time.
love that.
And it's honestly helped a lot. It was kind of almost embarrassing. One of the I don't know if it was the girls union or if it was the Dan Gable Museum was going around a couple years ago and asking, what you're doing, and my girls talked about coloring more than wrestling. And they showed them all the pictures that they had, so I was like, oh, we really should have talked about wrestling at that point in time, but oh well, it is what it is. um I just interviewed one of your former athletes, and she'll be on next week. uh Ended up moving to Ankeny, but she talked about a restaurant in Creston. And if you were going to go out any place in Creston, where's the go-to place?
Well, you have to go to Mario's. I'm going to give him the plug again.
Yeah.
Mario's restaurant is awesome. My favorite thing to eat there is the souvlaki. That is like a Greek pork dish type of thing on a little skewer. You got to have that every time.
Yeah. That's actually, she said the same exact restaurant, said that's the best place to go in Creston. Um, Besides that, I've gotten to the point where ice cream is now its own food group. Do you have a guilty pleasure food?
Oh, I don't. I'm a sweet lover, everything. But I would say probably ice cream. Down here in Southwest Iowa, we have the Dairy Sweet in Mount Air,
Mhm.
and they have flavors of the day. And so I like to frequent the Dairy Sweet on Fridays for their raspberry ice cream.
Very nice. Yes, I love ice cream. It's my favorite thing in the world. Yeah, definitely. So that's why I have this bikini body that I do that's quite rounded anymore. Um, you mentioned Southwest Iowa, and I was going to talk about this earlier. Southwest Iowa, probably the least, is amount of population in the state of Iowa. But man, the wrestling's really gotten good. For the boys, that Hawkeye 10 conference has always been really tough. But for the girls, we're really starting to see the Southwest Iowa, I think, emerge as a really solid place to wrestle. Riverside, Creston, on the larger school side, you got Lewis Central. Uh, what do you think? Is it just the tradition of that area that's doing that, driving that, or what do you think Southwest Iowa's doing to improve their girls wrestling?
Yeah, like you talked about the tradition, wrestling has traditionally been known as like a blue collar sport, and that's a blue collar area, and dad and grandpa and uncles all did it. And then we've had some excellent girls come out of this portion of the state that a lot of people look up to, like a Molly Allen
Yeah.
and girls like that. That I think those ladies, Molly's coming back to Southwest Iowa and doing several camps this summer, and I really think that that's excellent for our girls to have a role model like that to look up to.
Yeah, and she'll be sticking around Iowa, it sounds like. So
Yes, I love
very,
that.
very excited. I'm an Iowa State fan, so
Me too.
I'm
Me too.
super excited for Allie to have that team and see what Iowa State can do. Um, Next thing I like to talk about, vacation bucket list, and with having kids, and man, it's tough to travel, and usually, with me, my travel revolves around sports. That's what I get to do. But do you have a bucket list place that you and your husband want to go?
Well, we've kind of gotten into, thanks to our oldest son, national parks. So that's been
Oh,
his big passion is making sure he hits some national parks. He got a water bottle for Christmas that you can put the sticker on for each park that you go to. So he's really looking to knock those out. Now, his ideas of the ones he wants to go to, as opposed to mine, are a little bit different. But the Southwest in America is a place I really haven't traveled much, like the Arizona,
hmm.
New Mexico area, and that's appealing to me. So that's some place I want to go. But again, when you were talking about revolving around sports, when you've got that free time, the weather is not favorable for a vacation in that area.
No.
When I am free. So it's just not some place we've been yet. But yeah, I would like to travel to the Southwest.
I definitely do that at some point in time. My brother taught school in Las Vegas all the way through my college years, so I spent a lot of time in Las Vegas and that, Arizona, Southern California. Just I really like the desert, so definitely recommend doing that. Um, your story is unique. I mean, not so unique to girls wrestling because, there's a lot of coaches that they said, well, why don't you try this? Why don't you do this? And it probably was a little scary that first little bit, but what advice would you have to someone in that same boat, or even girls that aren't sure if they should go out for wrestling? What advice would you give them?
I think my advice just to all girls, especially that are junior high, high school age, is just to be brave. There's a lot of things that can go wrong in anything that you do. You can have all of the practice in the world at something and it not work out in your favor. So I think it's just important for them just to be bold and be brave.
What do you think the sport of wrestling, since you've been part of it for just a few years now, what do you think it's taught you?
Probably the same thing about how to be brave and to stand up and to just do what it is you're passionate about. I just think how scary it must be to walk out on the mat for the very first time and wrestle a match. And I look up to my athletes just as much as I hope they look to me as their leader, because that is incredibly courageous of them to be able to go out there and go to battle for their town and their teammates and their entire community.
Very good. So when we look back and I'm kind of at the end of my coaching career, and a lot of times I like to look back and I like to see, what's been accomplished, but the accomplishments really aren't what I look at. What are you thinking when it's time to look back, when you're sitting on the porch with your husband and you're yelling at some kids to get off your lawn? What do you think you'll remember most about? And let's not just limit it to wrestling. How about all the sports you've coached?
I always like to look back at weddings, especially when you get that wedding invitation. That's a pretty big honor that some of these kids you haven't talked to for 5 to 10 years, they've gone off on their own, they've established their own way in the world, and then you get that wedding invitation or that baby shower. Now I've got baby shower invites. That's how long I've been doing it. But I'm just so proud of them. And I think I just look back and think about the people that they are and it can even bring up specific moments when we had them that maybe that lesson clicked when you see them I call it in the wild, when you get to see them in the wild
Uh-huh.
and they've grown up and gone away from home.
Yeah, those relationships are so important. That's what everybody, for the most part, when I ask that question of athletes, of coaches, those relationships is everything it comes back to. It's never a specific win or we beat this team. That's what I'm going to remember. Nope, nobody even cares. It's kind of crazy to think that, because that's all we worry about, that so much about those wins, but that's not the important part when we look back on things. Um, One of the hardest things I have to do when I do these interviews is I have to come up with a thumbnail tagline, and that's not an easy task. And do you have you with your journey in wrestling, with your journey in coaching, can you think of something that you would describe your journey as, a tagline type?
Ooh. Um, well, honestly, it might just can I steal from Nike
Sure.
and just do it.
I like it.
Because I don't think that we know exactly what we're capable of until we try it. So just do it. Get out there and do it.
Oh, well, let's I'm going to add to that. What did you say? You said at the end, we're not sure of what we're capable of.
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. I'm going to add to, I'll work that around. I like that.
You
I
spice
like,
it up, make it sound
I
good.
like that a lot. I might let AI help me out a little bit. Sometimes I do that. I try not to do a lot of that because I kind of got, I used it a lot for a little while and I was like, oh, this isn't this, there's no feeling to it, you know?
Yep.
Um, just a couple questions left. When I first started coaching girls was 12 years ago. The term wrestle like a girl was probably a very derogatory term. You wrestle, you wrestle like a girl. Not any longer. I mean, if anybody went and watched the Iowa State tournament, they know that the wrestling level is super high in the state of Iowa. But what do you think it means to wrestle like a girl?
I think it means to be humble and completely joyful. The girls have taken wrestling and they have just completely made it their own. And when you see a victory from a girl that's maybe an upset or just a big win in general, you don't see the arrogance or the pounding of your chest like you sometimes see with male athletes. You just literally see pure joy on their faces. So I think wrestle like a girl means to do it with heart, passion, and just joy.
Love it. Love it. Last thing I got for you, I always leave a little bit of time. The floor is yours, as they would say. Final thought for the day.
My final thought for the day. First off, I'm so grateful that you had me on. I was nervous, I guess, what I would talk about, but I decided to just be brave and do it with you. So thank you for that. And I really just hope that young girls everywhere can find someone that they look up to. I know I'm looking to Allie St. John now that she took over the Iowa State Cyclones. That's my favorite college team in Iowa. So I just encourage young girls to get out there. If you see your little brothers doing it, how hard can it be? Okay, boys do it. So just get out and try it and know that it's a complete brand of our own, that we want a lot of people to join our wrestling community and our teams and to have the fun and the joy that we have in our hearts from doing it as well.
Man, it was really nice to get to know you a little bit better, get to know another Dana alumni, and boy, it was fun to get to know you. The Creston team is just in some great hands and good luck this next season. And hopefully I'll run into you way before then. But
Yeah.
you have a great day.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Troy.
You bet. Hold on for